You've probably heard the saying, work hard, play hard, but what if the hardest part isn't about working hard? It's about getting yourself to actually want to work hard in the first place. What if you could train your brain to crave doing the things you've been avoiding, the things that challenge you, push your limits, and make you grow? Imagine waking up every day, excited to tackle the hard stuff, knowing that it's leading you toward the success and growth you've always dreamed of. This book is about just that. It's about training your brain to not only handle hard things, but to actively seek them out. It's about rewiring your thinking, building mental toughness, and creating habits that make the hard work feel like second nature. Most people run away from challenges, and that's why they stay stuck. But if you can learn to embrace discomfort and turn it into a strength, you'll be unstoppable. Throughout this book, you'll learn practical ways to make hard work a habit, not something you dread or put off. You'll discover how your brain works and how to use it to your advantage. You'll learn about the power of mindset, how to set goals that push you, and why getting uncomfortable is the key to real progress. This isn't just theory, this is real, actionable advice that you can start using right now to make a difference in your life. If you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of waiting for the perfect moment, and ready to start doing the hard work that will lead you to long-term success, then you're in the right place. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. This is your chance to build a mindset that thrives on challenges and turns them into opportunities. Stick with this book, and I promise you'll start seeing your brain and your life change in ways you never thought possible. So, are you ready to train your brain to crave doing hard things? Let's get started. Chapter 1. Understanding the brain's resistance to hard work. Your brain isn't wired to love hard work. It's programmed to keep you safe, conserve energy, and avoid discomfort. When you sit down to tackle something challenging, whether it's writing a report, starting a fitness routine, or learning a new skill, your brain almost instinctively says, "Let's not." That resistance isn't a sign that you're lazy, it's just biology. Our brains evolved to prioritize immediate rewards and minimize threats. Back in the day, this kept us alive. If there was danger or uncertainty, your brain signaled you to avoid it. But today, this same mechanism can work against you. Modern challenges, like building a business or learning a language, don't come with immediate rewards. They require effort up front with results that take time. And that's where the brain struggles. It doesn't see the long-term payoff. It sees the immediate discomfort. When you think about doing something hard, your brain activates the pain centers, making you feel uneasy before you've even started. This is why procrastination feels so tempting. Your brain seeks relief by pushing the hard task aside and choosing something easier, like scrolling your phone or watching TV. Understanding this tendency is the first step to overcoming it. Let's talk about dopamine for a moment. You've probably heard of it as the brain's reward chemical, and that's a pretty good way to think of it. Dopamine is what gives you that burst of satisfaction when you accomplish something. It's also what makes you crave a slice of cake or feel good after completing a workout. Here's the tricky part. Your brain releases dopamine more easily for quick, effortless rewards than for delayed gratification. Think about it. Scrolling through social media gives you a quick hit of dopamine with little effort. On the other hand, working hard on a project might not feel rewarding until days, weeks, or even months later. Your brain naturally gravitates toward the path of least resistance to get that dopamine fix. But here's the good news. You can train your brain to release dopamine for the right reasons. By breaking big goals into smaller, more manageable tasks, you create opportunities for frequent wins. Each small accomplishment gives your brain a dose of dopamine, reinforcing the habit of hard work. Over time, your brain starts craving these productive wins. Now, let's address the mental roadblocks that tend to get in the way. First, there's the fear of failure. Nobody likes to feel like they're bad at something. When you're faced with a task that feels unfamiliar or tough, the fear of messing up can paralyze you. But here's the truth. Failure is part of the process. Every successful person has failed more times than they've succeeded. The only difference is they kept going. Then there's perfectionism, which can be just as debilitating. Sometimes you don't even start because you're waiting for the perfect conditions or for yourself to feel ready. Newsflash, there's no such thing as perfect timing. Waiting for perfection is just another form of procrastination. And let's not forget overwhelm. Big tasks can feel, well, big. When you're staring at a mountain, it's hard to imagine climbing it. That's why breaking tasks into smaller steps is so important. Instead of focusing on the entire project, focus on the first step. Then the next. Before you know it, you'll be halfway up the mountain. So how do you beat your brain's natural resistance to hard work? Start small. The hardest part of any task is starting. To make it easier, shrink the task. Instead of saying, "I'm going to write a book," say, "I'll write for 5 minutes today." 5 minutes is doable. Once you start, you'll often find the momentum to keep going. Another trick is to eliminate distractions. Your environment plays a huge role in your ability to focus. Set up a workspace that minimizes distractions. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, and let people know when you need uninterrupted time. Rewards are another powerful tool. Remember the dopamine we talked about. Use it to your advantage. Give yourself a small reward after completing a challenging task. It could be a cup of coffee, a walk outside, or even just a moment to relax. These rewards reinforce the habit of hard work. And don't underestimate the power of visualization. Before starting, take a moment to picture yourself finishing the task. Imagine how good it will feel. This simple mental exercise can give you the motivation to begin. Your brain's resistance to hard work isn't a weakness. It's just the way you're wired. But the beauty of being human is that you have the power to rewire those tendencies. By understanding how your brain works and using strategies to outsmart it, you can turn resistance into resilience. The hardest part is starting. Once you take that first step, you're already on your way to building a brain that craves doing hard things. So take a deep breath, pick one task, and start small. You've got this. Chapter 2. The Science of Neuroplasticity. Your brain is an incredible thing. It's capable of learning, adapting, and changing in ways that can completely transform your life. But to understand how you can train it to work for you, you first need to understand something called neuroplasticity. It's a big word, but don't let that scare you. At its core, neuroplasticity simply means that your brain can change. It can rewire itself, form new connections, and even strengthen those connections with practice. This ability is what makes personal growth and change possible for anyone. Think about this for a moment. Every thought you have, every action you take, and every habit you repeat creates a kind of pathway in your brain. Imagine walking through a forest. The first time you walk a new path, it's rough and hard to see. The more you walk it though, the more defined the path becomes. Eventually it's easy to find and easy to follow. That's what happens in your brain. When you repeat something often enough, the pathways strengthen. That's why habits, whether good or bad, feel automatic after a while. The good news is, you can intentionally create and strengthen pathways that lead to the kind of life you want. Here's where it gets exciting. Your brain doesn't care if the task is easy or hard. It just responds to repetition. The more you do something, even something challenging, the more your brain adapts to make it feel easier over time. It's not about being naturally gifted or talented. It's about showing up and doing the work consistently. The problem is, most people give up before their brain has a chance to adapt. They try something new, hit a rough patch, and think, I'm just not cut out for this. But the truth is, they just haven't walked the path enough times for it to become clear. Let me give you a practical example. Think about learning to drive a car. At first, it feels overwhelming. There's so much to think about. The gas pedal, the brake, the steering wheel, the mirrors. Your brain feels like it's on overload. But over time, with practice, those actions become automatic. You don't have to think about every little detail anymore. That's neuroplasticity in action. Your brain has created and strengthened the pathways needed to make driving second nature. Now, let's apply this to something you're working on. Maybe it's starting a new fitness routine, learning a language, or tackling a project at work. At first, it's going to feel hard. Your brain isn't used to it, so the pathways aren't there yet. But every time you show up and put in the effort, you're carving out that path a little more. The key is to keep going, even when it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is a sign that your brain is working to adapt. One of the most inspiring things about neuroplasticity is that it doesn't matter how old you are. For a long time, scientists thought that the brain stopped changing after a certain age. But now we know that's not true. Your brain is capable of changing throughout your entire life. That means it's never too late to start building new habits, learning new skills, or taking on new challenges. It's never too late to become the person you want to be. There are so many real-life stories that demonstrate the power of neuroplasticity. Take, for example, people who have suffered a stroke. In some cases, their brains are able to rewire themselves so that other areas take over for the damaged parts. It's incredible to see how, with consistent therapy and effort, people can regain abilities they thought were lost forever. If the brain can recover from something as traumatic as a stroke, imagine what it can do for you when you're simply trying to learn a new habit or skill. But here's the thing. Neuroplasticity works both ways. Just as you can strengthen pathways that lead to positive change, you can also strengthen pathways that reinforce negative habits. Every time you choose to procrastinate, give in to fear, or avoid a challenge, you're walking that path in your brain. The more you do it, the stronger that pathway becomes. That's why it's so important to be intentional about where you direct your time and energy. So how do you use neuroplasticity to your advantage? Start by focusing on consistency. It's not about making huge leaps overnight. It's about showing up every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Small, consistent actions add up over time. Next, embrace repetition. The more you practice something, the more your brain adapts. Don't get discouraged if it feels hard at first. Remember, you're carving out a new path, and that takes time. Finally, be patient with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. Trust the process and keep moving forward. Your brain is an incredible tool, and it's on your side. It's capable of more than you can imagine, and it's ready to adapt to whatever you throw at it. All you have to do is decide what kind of life you want to create, then take consistent action to make it happen. You're not stuck, you're not limited. With time, effort, and a little patience, you can train your brain to work for you, not against you. And that's when the magic happens. Chapter 3: The Importance of Mindset. Mindset is a powerful thing. It's like the lens through which we see the world. If your mindset is fixed, you'll view challenges as threats and obstacles as roadblocks. But if you have a growth mindset, you'll see challenges as opportunities to learn, grow, and become better. This chapter is all about how mindset shapes your approach to hard work, and how shifting your mindset can make all the difference when it comes to facing difficult tasks and achieving success. Let's start with a little story. Think about someone you know who has been successful in their life. Maybe it's a friend, a mentor, or someone in the public eye. Chances are, they didn't just stumble upon success, they faced obstacles, setbacks, and challenges, just like everyone else. The difference, their mindset. They didn't see those challenges as insurmountable barriers. Instead, they saw them as part of the process, as something to be overcome, not feared. Now, compare that to someone who struggles to get things done. Perhaps you've found yourself in this situation before, trying to accomplish something but feeling stuck, unsure, or afraid to take that next step. When you have a fixed mindset, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that you just aren't good enough, or that you can't do it. You might think that if things aren't working right away, it means you're failing. And the worst part is, when you're in that fixed mindset, you're likely to give up. It's almost like you've already decided the outcome before even giving it a real try. But here's the good news: you can change your mindset. You have the power to choose how you respond to challenges. A growth mindset isn't something you're born with, it's something you can develop. And it's something you absolutely need if you want to train your brain to crave doing hard things. The first step in developing a growth mindset is recognizing that your abilities are not set in stone. No one is born with an innate gift for doing difficult things. Hard work, practice, and perseverance are the keys to improving and achieving more. You might not be able to do everything right now, but with consistent effort, you can improve. And that's where the magic happens, because when you believe that you can improve, you're more likely to push through the tough times instead of quitting. It's like when you were first learning to ride a bike. At first it was hard. You wobbled, you fell, and you probably thought you would never get it. But what happened? You kept trying, you kept practicing, and eventually it clicked. You learned. That's the power of a growth mindset. It's about seeing failures as stepping stones, not as permanent roadblocks. Every time you fall, you get a little closer to success. Another crucial element of mindset is self-talk. The way you talk to yourself can either propel you forward or hold you back. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not capable or that you're going to fail, you're reinforcing that fixed mindset. You're telling your brain that it's not worth trying. But when you start shifting your self-talk, telling yourself that you can learn, that you can grow, and that challenges are opportunities, you begin to train your brain to embrace hard work. The words you use matter more than you might realize. They shape how you approach tasks, how you respond to setbacks, and how you keep moving forward. Now, let's talk about how to start shifting your mindset from fixed to growth. It's not an overnight transformation, but it's entirely possible with consistent effort. The first thing you need to do is recognize the negative self-talk when it happens. Pay attention to the thoughts that come up when you face something difficult. Are you telling yourself, "I can't do this," or "this is too hard"? If so, stop. Reframe those thoughts. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," try saying, "I haven't figured it out yet, but I will." Instead of "this is too hard," say, "This is a challenge, and I'm capable of overcoming it." One powerful tool to help shift your mindset is focusing on the process rather than the outcome. It's easy to get caught up in thinking about the end result. We all want to succeed, to reach the finish line, to achieve our goals. But when you focus too much on the end result, it can feel overwhelming, especially when you're up against a tough task. Instead, focus on the steps you need to take today. Break down the task into smaller, manageable pieces and give yourself credit for each step you take. Even if you're not where you want to be yet, you're making progress. This mindset shift is important because it removes the pressure of perfection and allows you to enjoy the journey. When you can look at challenges and see them as opportunities for growth, you're more likely to stay motivated and keep going, even when things get tough. You're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're focusing on what you can do right now to keep moving forward. One of the best ways to reinforce a growth mindset is through continuous learning. Seek out opportunities to learn something new, even if it's outside your comfort zone. Whether it's a new skill, a new approach, or a new perspective, learning keeps your brain engaged and flexible. It reminds you that growth is a lifelong process and that you can always get better. So take on new challenges. Don't shy away from hard things because they're uncomfortable. Embrace them. And most importantly, give yourself credit for trying. As you continue to train your brain to crave hard work, remember that growth doesn't always look like a straight line. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt, but those are just part of the process. The key is not to let them stop you. Keep showing up, keep learning, and keep believing that you are capable of more than you think. With a growth mindset, you'll start to see hard work not as something to avoid, but as something you embrace and even crave, because you know it's what leads to growth, success, and achievement. This is the beginning of a journey of learning, growing, and pushing through the challenges that come your way. With the right mindset, there's nothing you can't overcome. And that, my friend, is the power of a growth mindset. Chapter 4. Setting meaningful goals. If you've ever tried to achieve something big, something that's really important to you, then you've probably realized that it's not enough to just wish for it or hope that it'll happen on its own. You need more than just motivation. You need a clear, focused plan, and that plan starts with setting meaningful goals. Now, you might be thinking, I know about goals. I've heard of SMART goals, and I've tried setting them before, and you'd be right. But there's more to goal setting than just checking off boxes or trying to be disciplined. There's a deeper connection that needs to be made, a connection between what you want and why it matters to you. Because when you truly understand why you're working towards something, when that goal resonates with your values and your deeper desires, it becomes a lot easier to push through the tough times. Let's take a step back for a moment. Think about a time when you set a goal that was truly meaningful to you. Maybe it was something personal, like improving your health or advancing in your career. Maybe it was a creative project or a skill you wanted to master. Whatever it was, I'm sure there was a moment when the goal lit you up, made you feel excited, and gave you a sense of purpose. That feeling is key to setting meaningful goals. It's about tapping into something that excites you and motivates you, not just something you think you should do or something that looks good on paper. But here's the tricky part. It's easy to get caught up in goals that don't truly resonate with us. Society, friends, family, even social media, there's always someone else telling us what we should want or what we should be working toward. And it's not that those goals are necessarily wrong, but if they don't align with your personal values or your passions, it's going to be that much harder to stay committed when the going gets tough. So how do we find goals that truly matter? It starts with looking inward. What do you care about? What makes you feel alive? What are the things that, when you think about them, make your heart beat a little faster? These are the things that will fuel your motivation and give you the persistence to push through when it gets hard. Once you have an idea of what matters to you, it's time to make those goals more specific. A general goal like "I want to get better at my job" is a nice start, but it's too vague to guide your actions. The more specific you can get, the better. So ask yourself, what exactly does better look like? What skills do you need to develop? What milestones will show you that you're making progress? When you break your goals down into smaller, more specific parts, it becomes easier to take action and track your progress. This is where the concept of SMART goals comes in. I'm sure you've heard of this before: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But just knowing the acronym isn't enough. You have to actually apply it to your goals. So let's say your goal is to advance in your career. Instead of just saying, "I want to be better at my job," make it specific. "I want to learn how to lead a team effectively." That's a goal you can measure. Then break it down further. "I'll read one leadership book every month, attend a leadership workshop, and seek out mentorship from someone who's been a leader in my field." Now you have something concrete to work with. As you create these specific goals, make sure they're achievable. It's important to be ambitious, but it's also important to be realistic. Setting goals that are too big or too far out of reach can lead to frustration and burnout. On the flip side, setting goals that are too easy won't push you to grow. Finding that sweet spot between challenge and realism is key to keeping your motivation high. Now, let's talk about relevance. A goal is only worth pursuing if it matters to you. If you're setting goals based on someone else's expectations or what you think you should be doing, it won't carry the same weight as a goal that aligns with your own values. Ask yourself, why is this goal important to me? What will it mean for my life if I achieve it? When you connect the goal to something deeply meaningful, it becomes easier to stay focused, even when obstacles arise. And of course, there's the time-bound element. Without a timeline, it's easy to procrastinate or let the goal slip into the background. Deadlines are powerful because they create urgency and focus. But remember, the timeline should be realistic too. You don't want to set a deadline that's so tight it's impossible to meet, but you also don't want to leave things open-ended for too long. Give yourself a time frame that motivates you to take consistent action. Here's the thing about goals: they're not just about the end result. Sure, it's great to achieve what you set out to do, but the real magic happens along the way. The process of working toward your goals is where the growth happens. It's where you develop discipline, resilience, and the ability to handle challenges. The work you put in, the sweat, the effort, the late nights, the sacrifices, that's what shapes you into the person you need to become in order to achieve the success you want. Sometimes, when you're in the middle of working toward a goal, it can feel like you're not getting anywhere. Progress might seem slow, or you might hit a roadblock that makes you question if it's all worth it. That's when it's most important to stay grounded in your why. Remember why you set the goal in the first place. Remember what it will mean for you when you achieve it. It's easy to get discouraged, but keep pushing forward. Every small step counts. Every day you show up and put in the work is a step closer to achieving what you want. One of the best ways to stay motivated is to celebrate the small wins along the way. Don't wait until the goal is fully achieved to give yourself credit. Take time to acknowledge the progress you've made, even if it's just a small step. Every step is part of the journey, and every win, no matter how small, deserves recognition. It'll keep you going and remind you that you're moving in the right direction. Another thing to keep in mind is that goals are not static. As you grow and change, your goals may evolve too. Don't be afraid to reassess and adjust as needed. Life is full of surprises, and sometimes your goals will shift as you learn more about yourself and the world around you. That's okay. The important thing is to stay flexible, stay open to new possibilities, and keep moving forward, even if that means adjusting your goals along the way. In the end, goal setting isn't just about ticking things off a list. It's about creating a roadmap for your life, one that guides you, challenges you, and helps you grow into the person you're meant to become. When you set meaningful, well thought out goals that are aligned with your values and passions, you'll find the strength to push through the hard times and celebrate the successes along the way. And the best part, you'll never stop growing, because once you reach one goal, you'll be ready for the next one. It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery, achievement, and growth. And that, my friend, is the power of setting meaningful goals. Chapter 5. Embracing discomfort. If you've ever tried to push yourself towards something new, you've probably experienced discomfort. Maybe it was that first day at the gym when every muscle in your body was telling you to stop. Or perhaps it was that moment when you were standing in front of a group, about to speak, and your heart was pounding so hard you thought everyone could hear it. Or even starting something new, maybe a new job, a new habit, or a new routine. There's always that uneasy feeling, the voice in your head that tells you, this is too much, this is too hard, just stop. But what if I told you that this discomfort is actually a sign that you're on the right track? That it's a signal, not of failure, but of growth. Most people avoid discomfort. We seek comfort because it feels safe, familiar, and easy. But if you want to achieve anything worth achieving, you need to learn how to embrace discomfort. You need to learn that the discomfort you feel is not a barrier, but a gateway to something greater. It's kind of like this. Think about any time you've tried something new. In the beginning, it feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. That's because your brain doesn't have a set pattern for it yet. You're trying something unfamiliar, and your brain resists the unknown. It's a survival mechanism. But once you push through that discomfort, once you stick with it, your brain starts to form new pathways. And soon, that discomfort fades away, replaced by competence, confidence, and even enjoyment. Think about a time when you were learning something you've now mastered. Maybe it was a skill like riding a bike, learning to cook, or speaking in public. In the beginning, you were probably clumsy, unsure, and maybe even a little scared. But as you continued, something changed. That discomfort eventually became something else. It became confidence, it became familiarity, and it became something you could do without thinking twice. That's what happens when you embrace discomfort. The discomfort you feel isn't something to be afraid of. It's a natural part of the learning process. And if you want to train your brain to crave hard work, you need to learn to get comfortable with discomfort. I know it sounds counterintuitive. Why would you want to embrace something that feels so uncomfortable? The thing is, we often think of discomfort as something negative, something to avoid at all costs. But in reality, discomfort is necessary for growth. Without it, you'd never stretch beyond your current abilities. You'd never achieve anything new. It's like trying to get stronger without lifting weights. You can't. Your muscles need that resistance in order to grow. And just like your muscles, your mind needs discomfort to grow stronger. The good news is, discomfort doesn't last forever. The more you push through it, the more your brain starts to associate hard work with success. And the more you push through, the less discomfort you'll feel the next time you face a challenge. It's like building muscle. At first, it's hard. But over time, as you keep showing up, your brain gets used to the challenge. It learns that you're capable of handling it. And eventually, that discomfort becomes a thing of the past. I get it though. Facing discomfort isn't easy. It takes courage. It takes resilience. It takes the ability to push through when everything in your body is telling you to quit. But that's exactly the kind of attitude that will get you where you want to go. It's that willingness to be uncomfortable that will set you apart. Because most people, when they face discomfort, they give up, they turn around, they avoid it. But those who push through, that's where the real growth happens. Think about some of the greatest achievers in history, people like Thomas Edison, Michael Jordan, or Oprah Winfrey. Do you think they didn't face discomfort? Of course they did, but they learned to push through it. They learned that discomfort wasn't a sign to stop, it was a sign to keep going. They faced challenges, setbacks, and failures, just like everyone else, but they kept moving forward. They embraced discomfort as part of the process. Here's the truth. You're not going to get anywhere worth going without some level of discomfort. Whether it's trying something new, stepping outside your comfort zone, or working through a tough challenge, discomfort is part of the equation. It's part of what makes success so rewarding. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But the discomfort, the struggle, it's what makes it all worth it in the end. So how do you start embracing discomfort? It starts by changing the way you think about it. Instead of seeing discomfort as a sign that you should quit, see it as a sign that you're pushing yourself. You're stepping outside of what's familiar, and you're growing. Every time you feel that discomfort, remind yourself that it's temporary. It's a sign that you're moving forward, that you're taking steps towards something bigger, something better. Another way to embrace discomfort is to start small. Don't jump into the deep end right away. Start with something manageable. Maybe it's committing to a workout routine, or starting a new project, or having a tough conversation you've been putting off. Whatever it is, just take the first step. And when that discomfort shows up, don't back down. Keep going. Gradually, you'll build resilience, and the discomfort won't feel as intense. Another trick is to make discomfort your ally. Instead of trying to avoid it, make it part of your process. When you feel it, use it as a reminder that you're on the right track. It's not something to fear, but something to embrace. When you're faced with a challenge that makes you uncomfortable, remind yourself that this is where the growth happens. This is where you become stronger. This is where you develop the habits, the mindset, and the perseverance that will carry you through. And here's the key. You won't always feel comfortable. That's just part of the journey. But when you embrace discomfort, you'll find that it becomes less scary over time. You'll start to look for those moments when you can push yourself. You'll begin to crave the challenge because you'll know that every bit of discomfort is just another step toward becoming the person you want to be. Remember, it's not about avoiding the discomfort, it's about learning to work through it. The more you do, the stronger you'll become. The more you push through, the more you'll begin to crave the hard things. And eventually, you'll realize that the discomfort was never the problem. It was the solution, the path to growth, success, and fulfillment. So go ahead. Embrace the discomfort, push through it, because on the other side, you'll find the strength, the resilience, and the success that you've been working for all along. And trust me, it'll be worth every uncomfortable step. Chapter 6. The Power of Positive Reinforcement. You've probably heard the saying, what gets rewarded gets repeated. It's simple, but it's incredibly powerful when it comes to building habits, staying motivated, and pushing through tough tasks. The idea is that when you associate a task or action with a positive outcome, your brain starts to crave that outcome. It starts to link the action to a reward, and over time, it forms a connection that makes you want to keep doing it. It's the same reason why you're more likely to get back on track with something if you celebrate a small win or pat yourself on the back when you do something difficult. Think about it. When you've had a productive day or achieved something challenging, how do you feel? Chances are you feel proud, accomplished, and maybe even a little excited to keep going. That's the power of positive reinforcement. It's about using that feeling of accomplishment as fuel to keep moving forward. Here's the thing though, positive reinforcement doesn't always have to come from an outside source. It can and should come from within. The truth is, you're the one who knows what feels rewarding to you. So if you're trying to build a new habit or push yourself through a difficult task, start by acknowledging your own progress. It could be something as simple as telling yourself, "Great job," after finishing a tough workout, or allowing yourself a moment of satisfaction after completing a challenging project. The key is to make sure that your brain knows there's something good waiting at the end of the effort. Think about how kids are taught to do things. When they do something good, like cleaning their room or finishing their homework, they're often rewarded with praise or even a treat. That's how they learn what behaviors are valuable. The reward helps reinforce the idea that what they did was worth the effort, and over time, they start to connect doing the right thing with getting something positive in return. It's a simple concept, but it works. Now we're not children, and we don't always need external rewards to keep going. But there's something to be said for using positive reinforcement as a tool to keep yourself motivated. If you're trying to stick with something difficult, like a fitness routine or a challenging work project, it's easy to get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. That's where positive reinforcement comes in. It's the fuel that keeps your momentum going. It's the reminder that the hard work is worth it, even when it doesn't feel like it in the moment. For instance, let's say you're working toward a big goal. Maybe it's losing weight, writing a book, or building a business. When you break that goal down into smaller steps, it can be helpful to celebrate the little victories along the way. Maybe you've written 500 words for the day, or you've made it to the gym 3 times this week. Instead of just thinking, "Well, that's what I'm supposed to do," give yourself credit. Acknowledge the effort. Maybe treat yourself to something small, like your favorite coffee or a relaxing evening. Whatever it is, make sure that you're reinforcing the positive behavior. The great thing about positive reinforcement is that it doesn't have to be extravagant or even tangible. The simplest rewards can be the most effective. A few minutes of quiet time, a favorite song, a phone call with a friend. It's about making the connection in your mind between the effort you put in and the reward you get. It's about creating a cycle of progress that feeds itself. The more you reward yourself for staying on track, the more likely you are to repeat that behavior, and the stronger that connection becomes over time. But what about when you mess up? What about those days when you feel like you've fallen short, or you didn't live up to your own expectations? It's easy to let those moments drag you down. But here's the thing, negative reinforcement, beating yourself up, criticizing yourself, feeling guilty, isn't effective in the long run. In fact, it often has the opposite effect. When you're hard on yourself, it becomes harder to stay motivated, because your brain starts to associate effort with negativity, and that's the last thing you want. Instead of focusing on the mistakes or setbacks, try to shift your focus back to what you've done well. Sure, maybe you didn't hit all your goals for the day, but did you make progress? Did you show up, even if it wasn't perfect? That counts, and when you acknowledge that, you create a positive feedback loop. You start to see that progress isn't about being perfect every time. It's about showing up, putting in the work, and rewarding yourself for that effort. The thing about positive reinforcement is that it doesn't have to be immediate. It's not always about instant gratification. It's about reinforcing the idea that every effort you put in, no matter how small, is valuable. When you take the time to celebrate those small wins, you're creating a mental association between hard work and positive outcomes. Over time, this helps to rewire your brain to crave that feeling of accomplishment. It becomes easier to push through the tough moments because your brain knows there's a reward waiting for you on the other side. But what happens when you're facing a particularly difficult task, one that feels overwhelming and discouraging? That's where external positive reinforcement can be helpful. Sometimes we need others to help us stay on track. Maybe it's a mentor, a friend, or a colleague who gives you that little boost when you're feeling low. They remind you of your strengths, celebrate your progress, and help you see how far you've come. Don't be afraid to lean on others for support and encouragement. We all need it from time to time. And let's not forget the power of self-talk. The way you talk to yourself can either build you up or tear you down. Positive reinforcement is as much about your inner dialogue as it is about the rewards you give yourself. So when you're working through something tough, remind yourself of your progress, your strengths, and your ability to overcome challenges. Instead of focusing on what you haven't done, focus on what you have. The more you do this, the easier it will become to stay positive and motivated, even on the difficult days. The bottom line is this: positive reinforcement is a powerful tool in training your brain to crave hard work and push through challenges. Whether it's small rewards you give yourself or the encouragement you get from others, reinforcing your efforts is what will keep you going. It's about creating a mindset where hard work feels good because you've learned to associate it with positive outcomes. And over time, that's what will turn those tough tasks, those moments of discomfort, into something your brain actually looks forward to. The more you practice this, the more natural it will become, and soon enough, you'll find that the real reward is in the effort itself. Chapter 7: Mindfulness Techniques to Enhance Focus. When you think about focus, it's easy to imagine a steady, unbroken stream of concentration that powers you through a task without distraction. But we all know that's not always the case. Whether you're trying to finish a project, stick with a workout routine, or just get through the day without feeling overwhelmed, distractions can derail your focus in an instant. And the more you try to force focus, the more elusive it becomes. That's where mindfulness comes in. Now, before you start thinking that mindfulness is just some buzzword or something reserved for yoga retreats, let me assure you that it's much more practical than that. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment. It's about paying attention, without judgment, to what's happening right now. It's about taking a step back from all the noise, distractions and worries in your head, and simply being aware of where you are and what you're doing. And when it comes to focus, mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools you can use. Think about how often your mind wanders throughout the day. You might be working on something important, but then a stray thought about dinner, a phone notification, or a random memory pops into your head. Suddenly, you're lost in thought, and that task you were so focused on feels miles away. We've all been there. Our minds are naturally drawn to distractions. But with mindfulness, we can train ourselves to bring our attention back to the task at hand, gently but firmly. Let me start with a simple example. Let's say you're sitting down to write, and you're finding it hard to focus. You sit there, staring at the screen, your mind racing in a dozen different directions. Maybe you're worried about how the writing is going, or thinking about something you need to do later. You're not really here, you're in the future or the past. So instead of forcing yourself to write, take a moment to stop and take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a second and check in with your body. Are you tense? Are you holding on to stress in your shoulders, your neck, or your jaw? Notice how you're feeling without judgment. Just observe. The first step of mindfulness is simply being aware. You don't have to fix anything right away or try to force a different feeling. Just pause, take a breath, and acknowledge the present moment. When you do that, you begin to create a sense of calm and presence that can help you refocus. It's like hitting the reset button for your brain. Now, let's dive a little deeper into mindfulness. One of the most effective mindfulness techniques for improving focus is the practice of grounding. This involves using your senses to reconnect with your environment and the present moment. The next time you find yourself distracted, take a moment to really tune in to what's happening around you. Look around the room and notice details that you might have overlooked. A picture on the wall, the light filtering through the window, the texture of the chair you're sitting in. Touch something nearby and feel its texture. Listen to the sounds around you. Maybe it's the hum of a computer, the ticking of a clock, or the distant sounds of traffic. Grounding helps you return to the present, pulling you out of your head and back into your body. And when you're present, it's easier to focus. The more you practice this, the quicker and more automatic it becomes. You don't have to do it for long. Just a minute or two is enough to reset your focus and bring you back to the task at hand. Another mindfulness technique that can help with focus is deep breathing. I know, it sounds simple, but don't let the simplicity fool you. When we're stressed or distracted, our breath becomes shallow and rapid. This kind of breathing sends signals to your body that you're in fight or flight mode, which makes it harder to concentrate and think clearly. But when you take slow, deep breaths, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming your body down. Try this next time you need to refocus. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, counting to 4 as you inhale. Hold for a moment at the top, then exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 4 again. Repeat this a few times, paying attention to the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. With each breath, you'll start to notice a sense of calm spreading through you. Your shoulders will relax, your mind will settle, and before you know it, you'll feel more centered and more able to tackle whatever task is in front of you. Mindfulness also involves noticing your thoughts without getting caught up in them. A lot of the time, we think of our thoughts as facts. If we're worried or anxious, we take those thoughts as gospel truth. But mindfulness teaches us to step back and observe our thoughts without judgment. Instead of getting tangled in a negative thought cycle, try to treat your thoughts like clouds floating across the sky. They come and go. You don't have to engage with them. You don't have to believe them. You can simply watch them pass by. The more you practice this, the more you'll find that your thoughts have less power over you. When you notice a distracting thought, instead of following it down a rabbit hole, acknowledge it and gently bring your attention back to the task at hand. It's all about creating space between you and your thoughts, so you're not swept away by them. This doesn't mean you'll never get distracted. Distraction is a natural part of being human, but with mindfulness, you become better at noticing when it happens and redirecting your focus more quickly. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger your ability to focus becomes. Mindfulness isn't just a technique you use in the moment, it's a mindset you can cultivate over time. The more you practice mindfulness in small moments throughout your day, the more it becomes second nature. Whether you're eating lunch, walking to the car, or talking to a friend, you can always bring mindfulness into the moment. You don't have to be sitting in a quiet room to practice it. It's about being present wherever you are. And here's the best part, mindfulness doesn't just improve your focus, it helps you manage stress and build resilience too. When you're able to bring your attention to the present moment, you stop worrying about what's coming next or what might have happened in the past. You learn to let go of the mental clutter that holds you back. You become less reactive, more calm, and more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Incorporating mindfulness into your routine doesn't have to be time-consuming. You don't need to set aside hours for meditation, though that can be helpful if you enjoy it. Even taking a few minutes throughout the day to practice deep breathing or grounding can make a huge difference in your ability to focus and stay calm. It's about creating a habit of mindfulness so it becomes a natural part of your daily life. As you continue to develop your mindfulness practice, you'll begin to notice a shift. Tasks that once felt overwhelming will feel more manageable. You'll have more clarity and a greater sense of control. And most importantly, you'll start to see the power of being present, not just in your work, but in your life. Mindfulness is a tool that helps you tune out the distractions, clear the mental clutter, and focus on what matters most. And the more you practice it, the stronger your ability to stay focused will become, allowing you to push through challenges and achieve your goals with greater ease. So take a deep breath, be present, and trust that with mindfulness, focus is within your reach. Chapter 8. Building Resilience Through Practice. There's something that separates people who get ahead from those who stay stuck. It's not intelligence, talent, or luck. It's resilience, the ability to bounce back when life knocks you down, to keep going even when the odds are against you, and to press forward when the going gets tough. Resilience is what allows you to face setbacks and still believe in your ability to succeed. It's a muscle, just like any other. And just like any muscle, it gets stronger the more you use it. Think about the hardest thing you've ever done. Maybe it was a personal challenge, a professional setback, or just a day where everything seemed to go wrong. Whatever it was, it probably felt like it was too much to handle at the time. You might have questioned if you were capable of overcoming it. You might have thought about giving up. But you didn't. And the reason you didn't is because you had some level of resilience in you. Maybe you didn't know it then, but you found a way to push through, to keep going, and to keep fighting. Resilience isn't about being invincible. It's not about avoiding failure or difficulty. It's about how you respond to those things. When things don't go according to plan, it's not the setback that defines you, it's how you react. The people who bounce back quickly aren't the ones who never face adversity. They're the ones who refuse to let it stop them. But resilience isn't something that just magically appears when you need it. It's built through practice, through small moments of adversity, through the decisions you make when things get tough. It's like strengthening any other skill. It requires training, consistency, and a willingness to keep going, even when it feels hard. The first step in building resilience is realizing that challenges are part of the process. No one gets to the top without facing obstacles. There will be days when things don't go your way. There will be times when you feel defeated, when your efforts seem to fall short, or when everything feels like one big uphill battle. The key is not to see these setbacks as signs of failure, but as opportunities to practice resilience. Every time you push through, you're strengthening that muscle. Every time you get back up after a fall, you're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. One of the most powerful tools in building resilience is reframing failure. Think about how we usually react to failure. It's painful, discouraging, and often feels like a roadblock. But what if we saw failure differently? What if we looked at it not as a dead end, but as a learning experience, a chance to grow stronger? Because that's exactly what failure is. A teacher in disguise. Every failure holds valuable lessons about what works and what doesn't. Every misstep is an opportunity to improve, to adjust, and to become better. When you encounter failure, ask yourself what you can learn from the experience. What would you do differently next time? What did the situation teach you about your strengths and weaknesses? By focusing on the lessons, you shift the narrative from one of defeat to one of growth. And that shift in mindset is crucial for building resilience. It allows you to face setbacks with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. But learning from failure doesn't just happen in your head, it requires action. Resilience is built not just by thinking about challenges, but by facing them head-on. You can't grow stronger by avoiding difficulty. You have to step into the discomfort, even when it feels like the easier path would be to quit or hide. When you take action, even when you don't feel ready, you're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you think. And that belief, that confidence in your ability to handle challenges, is what fuels resilience. Another key to building resilience is learning how to manage stress. Stress is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to overwhelm you. How you respond to stress plays a big role in how resilient you are. If you let stress control you, it can be paralyzing. But if you learn how to manage it, you can turn it into fuel for growth. One way to manage stress is by developing coping strategies that work for you. It could be taking a walk to clear your head, practicing mindfulness, journaling, or talking things out with a trusted friend. These small actions help you stay grounded, even when life feels chaotic. Another important aspect of resilience is having a sense of purpose. When you know why you're doing something, whether it's a personal goal, a career ambition, or something bigger, it gives you the strength to push through when times get tough. Purpose acts as a compass that guides you through the storm. When the challenges come, your purpose will remind you why it's worth pushing through. It's the difference between being tossed around by the waves of life and sailing with a steady hand on the wheel. One of the best ways to build resilience is by taking small, consistent steps. Resilience isn't built overnight, it's a process. The more you challenge yourself, the more you expose yourself to difficult situations, the stronger your resilience becomes. Start with manageable challenges. Take on something that pushes you a little beyond your comfort zone, but doesn't overwhelm you. Each time you face something tough and push through it, you're building resilience. Over time, those small steps add up, and you'll find yourself capable of handling much bigger challenges than you ever thought possible. But it's not just about handling the big stuff. Resilience is about how you handle the everyday struggles, the small setbacks, the daily stresses, the moments when things don't go as planned. Every time you stay calm in the face of frustration, every time you pick yourself up after a minor mistake, every time you keep going when you'd rather quit, you're strengthening your resilience. The more you practice resilience in small moments, the easier it becomes to face the big moments. And here's something crucial to remember. Building resilience doesn't mean you won't feel the pain. You will. You'll feel frustrated, disappointed, and tired. You'll face moments of doubt. But resilience isn't about avoiding those feelings. It's about feeling them, acknowledging them, and choosing to keep going anyway. It's about understanding that pain, difficulty, and discomfort are temporary. They pass. What doesn't pass is your ability to keep moving forward. Finally, remember that resilience is a lifelong practice. It's not something you can master in a day or a week. It's something you build over time, with consistent effort and a willingness to face life's challenges head-on. So when things get tough, when life throws you a curveball, don't see it as an obstacle. See it as an opportunity to practice resilience. Every challenge is a chance to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you think. Building resilience takes time, but the more you practice, the more natural it will feel. And the next time life tries to knock you down, you'll know that you have what it takes to rise again, stronger and more determined than ever. Chapter 9: The Role of Routine and Habits. Let's talk about something we all have in our lives, whether we realize it or not. Routine. You might not think much about it, but your daily routine shapes a huge part of who you are and what you're able to achieve. Think about your morning. Do you wake up and jump straight into action? Do you have certain rituals that set the tone for the day? Whether it's a cup of coffee, checking emails, or a quick workout, all these little actions build the rhythm of your day. The truth is, your routine can either help you achieve your goals or hold you back. It's one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal, and the great news is that you can use it to your advantage. You don't need to be someone special or have extraordinary talent. What you need is a routine that works for you, one that encourages you to take consistent steps toward the things that matter most. When you think about successful people, it's not just about the big moments. They have daily habits that help them stay on track. Routine and habits work together in ways that are almost invisible but incredibly impactful. They create a framework for your day that can keep you moving forward even when motivation fades. You don't have to rely on willpower or inspiration all the time. If you set the right habits in place, they will carry you when your energy is low or when the challenge seems too big. It's like planting seeds in the ground and trusting that over time they'll grow into something meaningful. But here's the catch: creating a routine that supports your goals takes time and effort. It doesn't happen overnight. In the beginning, it's easy to feel frustrated when things don't immediately fall into place. But don't let that discourage you. The key is consistency. Even when it feels like you're not making progress, every step you take toward building a better routine is one step closer to making it a permanent part of your life. So, let's talk about how to build a routine that supports you, especially when you're striving to do hard things. First, it's important to understand that routines aren't one size fits all. What works for someone else might not work for you, and that's okay. The key is to tailor your routine to fit your life and your goals. If you're trying to get more done, you might find that waking up early, exercising in the morning, and diving into your most challenging work first thing is the best approach for you. Or maybe you're a night owl and you do your best thinking after everyone else has gone to bed. There's no wrong way to build a routine, as long as it works for you and helps you move closer to where you want to be. A lot of people get stuck because they think a good routine needs to be complicated. But here's the thing: simplicity is key. A routine doesn't have to be packed with dozens of tasks. It just needs to include a few essential actions that set you up for success. It's about quality over quantity. Start small. Begin with a morning ritual that makes you feel grounded and focused. It could be as simple as a glass of water, a short meditation, or a quick journaling session. These small habits are like a mental warm-up that prepare you to tackle whatever comes next. When it comes to work or the goals you're trying to achieve, break things down into manageable chunks. Big tasks can be overwhelming, but when you divide them into smaller, bite-sized pieces, they become much easier to handle. And don't forget to give yourself space to breathe. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, thinking that you have to be doing something all the time. But remember, rest is just as important as work. Your routine should have built-in moments of rest and relaxation so that you don't burn out. As you begin to build your routine, you'll start to notice that habits begin to form naturally. When you repeatedly do something, it starts to become automatic. That's the power of habits. You don't have to think about them constantly. They just become part of your life. If you've ever brushed your teeth without even thinking about it, you know what I mean. That's the kind of effortless consistency we want to build in our routines. But the process doesn't end once you've created your routine. The next step is to stick with it. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is where most people give up. They try a new routine for a few days, and when they don't see immediate results, they abandon it altogether. It's important to remind yourself that routines and habits take time to pay off. You're not going to see major changes after one day or even 1 week. But if you stay consistent and keep showing up, you will see results over time. It's like compounding interest. You put in small efforts every day, and eventually they add up to something significant. Now, let's talk about flexibility. Yes, it's crucial to stick to your routine, but that doesn't mean it's set in stone. Life happens, things come up, and sometimes you'll need to adjust your routine to fit your current circumstances. Maybe you have an unexpected work meeting, or maybe you just don't have the energy for your usual workout. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. If you need to tweak your routine here and there, don't beat yourself up. Just make sure that you keep going and stay committed to your long-term vision. The beauty of routine is that it doesn't just apply to the big things. The small habits, the ones that seem insignificant, are the ones that really add up. The way you make your bed in the morning, the way you organize your day, the way you respond to stress, these are all habits that shape your mindset and your ability to handle challenges. So even on the days when you feel like you're not making any progress, know that these small actions matter. They're building the foundation for your success. When you've set up a routine that works for you, it's easier to tackle the hard things. You don't have to rely on motivation or willpower to get you through. Your routine becomes the structure that supports you when things get tough. And when you're able to make your hardest tasks a regular part of your routine, you stop thinking of them as hard. They just become part of your everyday life, like anything else. Ultimately, your routine is a reflection of your priorities. If you're serious about achieving your goals, about doing the hard work, your routine will show it. It's a mirror of the choices you make every day. So take a good look at your routine. Is it supporting the person you want to become? Is it helping you show up every day to do the work, even when it feels challenging? If not, then it's time to make some adjustments. Your routine doesn't have to be perfect, but with a little thought, effort, and consistency, you can build one that works for you. And over time, you'll find that it's the routine that keeps you moving forward, even when your motivation wavers. It's the foundation that allows you to keep doing the hard things, day in and day out, until they no longer feel hard at all. Chapter 10. Visualization Techniques for Success. Visualization is a tool that's often talked about, but not always fully understood. It's more than just daydreaming about what you want. It's about actively seeing yourself succeeding, overcoming obstacles, and feeling what that success will be like. It's about creating a mental image that aligns with the reality you're working to build, and then programming your brain to act in ways that move you toward that vision. Visualization is the first step in transforming what you want into something tangible, and it's a practice that anyone can use, no matter where they are in life. Let me ask you, have you ever imagined yourself achieving a big goal? Maybe it's finishing a marathon, launching a business, or even giving a public speech that leaves everyone inspired. When you picture this in your mind, you're already practicing a form of visualization. The brain doesn't know the difference between something you imagine and something you actually experience. So when you visualize success, your brain starts to create the neural pathways that make it more likely to become a reality. The more vividly you see the outcome you want, the more likely your actions will align with achieving it. It's like putting your brain in the driver's seat and allowing it to take the wheel towards success. But it's not just about seeing the end result. Visualization involves fully engaging all your senses. When you picture yourself achieving your goals, really take the time to feel what it would be like. Imagine the sights, the sounds, the emotions. If your goal is to finish a challenging project, see the details in your mind, the work you're doing, the satisfaction of checking off a task, the sense of pride when you reach that final step. Smell the scent of the room, hear the quiet focus of the environment around you, and feel the weight of the accomplishment in your chest. These sensory details deepen your connection to the goal and make it feel more real. The more real you make it in your mind, the easier it becomes to take action toward it in the physical world. You may be thinking, okay, but does this really work? The answer is absolutely yes. Science backs it up. There have been numerous studies that show how visualization can improve performance. For instance, athletes have used visualization for years to enhance their physical skills. A study done on basketball players showed that simply visualizing themselves making free throws resulted in a better performance in the actual game. The mind can't distinguish between a vividly imagined event and the real thing. When you picture yourself succeeding, your brain starts to wire itself for success. This isn't just about hoping or wishing for things to happen. It's about creating a mental blueprint for success and then following through on it. Now let's dive a little deeper into how you can use visualization as a daily practice. The key here is consistency. Just like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get at it. Set aside time each day to visualize your success. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and allow yourself to imagine achieving your goal in as much detail as possible. If it's a work goal, see yourself completing a task with focus and confidence. If it's a personal goal, picture yourself reaching a milestone and celebrating that moment. Make it as vivid and detailed as possible. The first step is to create a clear, specific vision of what you want. If you don't have a concrete idea of what success looks like for you, then visualization becomes a little more challenging. The more specific you can be, the more effective your visualization will be. Instead of just imagining success, imagine what that success looks like in action. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? The more you can picture the experience, the more connected your mind will feel to it. This process helps train your brain to recognize what it's working toward and gives you a sense of direction. Visualization also helps reduce anxiety and self-doubt. When you imagine yourself succeeding, you can work through the feelings of fear that often hold us back. Instead of being afraid of the unknown, you begin to imagine a reality where you are prepared, confident, and capable. It's like rehearsing for a play. You've already gone through the motions in your mind, so when it's time for the real thing, you're more comfortable, more at ease, and less intimidated. If you constantly visualize yourself failing or not being good enough, that's the mindset you'll carry with you. But when you see yourself succeeding, no matter the challenges that come your way, your brain starts to prepare you to handle them. It's like training for a race. The more you prepare, the more ready you are when the starting gun goes off. But visualization isn't just about seeing success. It's also about visualizing the process. Many people focus only on the end goal, but forget about all the steps it will take to get there. Visualizing the journey is just as important. It's about seeing yourself working hard, facing obstacles, pushing through moments of discomfort, and staying on course despite setbacks. By imagining the process, you're mentally preparing yourself for the challenges that will inevitably come. And because you've already mentally rehearsed those moments, you'll feel more confident and capable when they show up. You might be thinking that this sounds too easy or not practical enough. But let me tell you, this is one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. When you make it a habit to visualize your goals, you rewire your brain to think and act in ways that support your success. Every time you visualize, you reinforce your belief in your ability to achieve, and you increase your motivation to take the necessary steps toward that goal. Visualization is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you see yourself succeeding, the more likely it is to happen. So how do you make visualization work for you? First, make it a part of your daily routine. Even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, commit to practicing visualization regularly. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and really engage your senses. See yourself achieving your goal. Feel the emotions that come with that success. Hear the sounds that surround you. Smell the air, touch the things that are a part of the experience. The more senses you involve, the more your brain will connect to that vision. Another tip is to visualize not just the outcome but also the feelings you'll experience along the way. If you're trying to get fit, don't just picture yourself at the finish line. Picture yourself working out, feeling strong, and pushing through the tough moments. See yourself taking the steps toward your goal, day by day. When you start to see the process as something you can handle, it becomes easier to take action toward it. One of the most powerful parts of visualization is that it builds confidence. The more you see yourself succeeding, the more confident you'll feel about taking on challenges. Your mind starts to believe in your potential because you've given it evidence of success. You've mentally prepared for every step of the journey, and your brain believes that you're capable of handling whatever comes your way. Visualization doesn't guarantee instant success, but it increases your chances of success by helping you focus, believe in yourself, and stay motivated. It creates a mental framework that aligns with the reality you want to create. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, and eventually, your actions will follow suit. Your dreams aren't as far away as they seem. They're right there, waiting for you to take action. And visualization can be the first step in turning those dreams into reality. Chapter 11: Accountability and Social Support. Accountability is one of those things that many people overlook, but it's absolutely crucial when it comes to achieving any meaningful goal. When you think about it, having someone else to answer to, someone who is rooting for your success and checking in on your progress, can make all the difference. It's easy to make promises to yourself, but when there's another person involved, it adds a layer of responsibility that pushes you to follow through. The thing about accountability is that it works on multiple levels. First, it keeps you motivated. We all go through moments where we feel unmotivated, where it feels like the mountain we're climbing is just too steep. Having someone there to remind you why you're doing what you're doing can reignite that spark. When someone asks, "Hey, how's that project going?" or "Did you get your workout in today?" it gives you a little nudge. It's not about pressure, but about encouragement to keep going, even on the days when you'd rather quit. But accountability goes beyond just having someone ask how you're doing. It also helps you stay on track with your actions. It's easy to drift off course when you're working alone, especially if you're not seeing immediate results. However, having a person you check in with, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a colleague, gives you that extra layer of focus. You know that your progress isn't just on you. Someone else is there to witness it, and that can make you more committed to doing the work, even when no one else is looking. Let's face it, it's human nature to procrastinate. We all do it. We tell ourselves that we'll start tomorrow, that we'll do it later, but later never really comes. This is where accountability partners play a vital role. They create a sense of urgency. When someone else is counting on you, it's harder to put things off. You don't want to let them down, and you don't want to feel like you're not meeting your commitments. That external sense of accountability shifts you into action. Of course, it's not just about being accountable to someone else, it's about being accountable to yourself. We often set goals without making a plan to hold ourselves accountable, and that's where things tend to fall apart. It's easy to get distracted or to let life's little setbacks take us off course. But when we create systems for accountability, we set ourselves up for success. Whether it's checking in with someone regularly, tracking your progress, or simply writing down your goals, the act of holding yourself accountable forces you to commit to your actions. There are many ways to create accountability, and it's important to find what works best for you. If you're someone who thrives on having regular check-ins, maybe you should find a buddy to go on this journey with you. It could be a friend who shares similar goals, or maybe someone who's already walked the path you're on. Sharing your struggles and successes with someone else builds a sense of camaraderie and makes the journey feel less isolating. When you talk about your goals with someone, it becomes real in a way that it just doesn't when you keep it inside your head. For others, a more formal setup might work better. A coach, a mentor, or even an online group can provide the structure and guidance needed to stay accountable. Having someone who is experienced and can give you feedback can help you stay grounded and focused, even when things feel overwhelming. And if you're working on a long-term project or goal, it can help to set up regular milestones that you check in with, so you're not just floating along, hoping for progress. Those little check-ins keep you motivated and ensure you're on the right path. And it's not just about checking in to make sure you've done the work. Accountability should be about creating a space for both success and failure. It's easy to feel discouraged when things aren't going as planned, but this is when accountability can really shine. When you have someone to talk to during these times, it helps you gain perspective and not give up. A good accountability partner will remind you that setbacks don't mean failure. They're just part of the process. They'll offer encouragement, practical advice, and a reminder of why you started in the first place. It's during these tough moments that the real growth happens, and having someone there makes all the difference. But let's talk about accountability from the perspective of those moments when you do succeed. It's just as important to have someone there to celebrate with you. We often get caught up in the hustle of working toward a goal, and when we finally reach it, we forget to pause and recognize our achievement. Having someone to share your wins with reinforces that feeling of accomplishment and motivates you to keep going. It's a reminder that your hard work is paying off and that you're on the right track. When you have an accountability partner who cheers you on, it helps you stay energized and committed to your next goal. Now, let's talk about the role of social support. Accountability isn't just about checking in with someone, it's about surrounding yourself with people who are invested in your success. This might be your family, friends, colleagues, or even a community group that shares your goals. When you create a network of people who believe in you, it's easier to stay motivated and on track. The right support system can help you push through the tough times and remind you that you're not alone in your efforts. There's something about knowing that other people are rooting for you that can keep you going, even when things feel difficult. It creates a sense of belonging and encourages you to keep going, because you know that your progress matters not only to you but to those around you. Social support has a way of making the process feel lighter, less burdensome. It's a reminder that you don't have to do everything by yourself, and that there's strength in having others alongside you. One of the most important aspects of accountability, though, is honesty. Accountability isn't just about saying, "I did the work," and hoping no one checks. It's about being open and transparent, especially when things don't go as planned. When you're honest about your struggles, it creates a space for growth. Accountability partners should feel comfortable holding you to your word, but also offering support when things get tough. Likewise, you need to be open to their feedback and not shy away from constructive criticism. Growth comes from being honest about where you're at, both the successes and the failures. You also want to think about how accountability partners push you beyond your comfort zone. Sometimes we can get stuck in the familiar routines of our daily lives, and we need someone to challenge us to aim higher. A good accountability partner or coach will help you set bigger goals and encourage you to go further than you think you can. They'll help you see the potential in yourself, even when you're doubting it. And this challenge isn't about pushing you too hard or making you feel overwhelmed. It's about gently stretching you beyond your limits so you can keep growing. Finally, let's touch on the idea of making accountability a long-term habit. It's not just about checking in when things are difficult. It's about integrating it into your life in a way that feels natural. When accountability becomes a part of your daily routine, you stop viewing it as a chore and start seeing it as a valuable tool for success. This is when accountability really transforms into something that works in your favor, helping you stay motivated and focused for the long haul. In the end, accountability is a powerful tool for staying on track and reaching your goals. It gives you structure, motivation, and support, all while encouraging you to push through the tough times. Whether it's someone you check in with regularly, a coach, or a community of like-minded individuals, accountability helps ensure that you don't just talk about your goals, but you take consistent action toward achieving them. So find your accountability partner, share your journey, and start holding yourself and others responsible for making your dreams a reality. Chapter 12. Dealing with failure and setbacks. Failure is one of those things that many of us dread, and yet it's a part of life we can't escape. No matter how hard we try to avoid it, no matter how well we plan, failure always seems to have a way of showing up when we least expect it. But here's the thing, failure isn't the end of the road. It's not a sign that we should give up, pack our bags, and head home. In fact, failure is often the most powerful lesson we can learn on our journey towards success. The key to overcoming failure is how we respond to it, how we choose to see it and use it as a tool for growth. Let's be honest, when we fail, it stings, it hurts, and it can leave us questioning ourselves, doubting our abilities, and wondering whether we're cut out for the challenge we're facing. It's only natural to feel that way. But the truth is, failure is simply feedback. It's not a reflection of our worth or our potential. It's just a piece of information that tells us, hey, there's something here that didn't work, but that doesn't mean you can't try again with a different approach. It's a chance to learn and grow, but only if we allow ourselves to see it for what it really is. Think about the first time you tried to do something difficult. Maybe it was a sport, maybe it was a new job, or maybe it was a personal goal you set for yourself. I'm sure you didn't succeed the very first time, but you didn't let that stop you, did you? You tried again, you learned from your mistakes, and eventually you succeeded. The same principle applies to every aspect of life. Success isn't about getting things right all the time. It's about getting up after you fall, dusting yourself off, and going back at it with more wisdom and determination. I know it's tempting to see failure as something final, something that defines us, but it doesn't. It's just a moment in time. It's a chapter in our story, not the entire book. Failure doesn't determine your future unless you let it. If you decide to let it, then yes, it can define you. But if you choose to learn from it, to pick yourself back up, and to keep moving forward, then it becomes just one small step in your growth journey. One of the biggest challenges we face when we fail is dealing with the disappointment. It's easy to get discouraged, especially when you've put in time, energy, and heart into something, and it doesn't pan out the way you expected. You might feel like all that effort was wasted. But here's the thing, effort is never wasted. Even if you didn't reach your goal this time, the experience you gained is invaluable. You've learned what doesn't work, and that's a huge step toward figuring out what will work. Every failure gives us a piece of the puzzle, a clearer understanding of what we need to do next. And yet sometimes we're afraid to fail because we think that failure means we're not good enough, that we're not capable of succeeding. But let me tell you this, failure is a sign that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're challenging yourself to do something you haven't done before. If you're not failing, then you're not growing. Think about the people who have achieved extraordinary success. They all failed multiple times before they got to where they are. It wasn't the failure that held them back, it was their decision to keep going, to keep learning, to keep evolving that got them to the top. The other thing to consider is how we tend to judge ourselves when we fail. We can be our own worst critics, beating ourselves up for not meeting our own expectations. But the truth is, failure is not a reason to criticize yourself. It's a reason to be kind to yourself. It's a reason to offer yourself some compassion and grace. You wouldn't talk to your best friend the way you sometimes talk to yourself when you fail, right? So why do we do it to ourselves? Instead of focusing on the failure itself, focus on what you can do differently next time. Focus on the lessons you've learned, the ways you've grown, and the strength you've gained by facing the challenge head-on. A lot of people avoid failure because they fear judgment from others. They worry that others will see them as weak, incapable, or unsuccessful. But the truth is, people who judge you for failing aren't the ones who matter. What really matters is how you view yourself. Are you willing to try again? Are you willing to look at your mistakes as opportunities to learn and improve? The people who truly care about you will admire your courage, your willingness to keep going, and your ability to bounce back from setbacks. It's not about being perfect, it's about being resilient. There's also a big difference between failing at something and failing as a person. When we fail at something, it doesn't mean we're failures. It just means that what we tried didn't work out the way we expected. That's all. It's not a reflection of who we are as people, our worth, or our potential. Failure is not permanent. It's just a moment in time, and how we choose to respond to it is what truly defines us. So how do we deal with failure in a way that propels us forward rather than holding us back? The first step is to accept it. Accept that failure is part of the process. The sooner you stop resisting it, the sooner you'll be able to move past it and learn from it. There's no shame in failing. The shame comes when we refuse to learn from our mistakes and continue to repeat them. Once you accept failure, the next step is to reframe it. Instead of seeing it as a negative, see it as a positive. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? This mindset shift is crucial because it turns failure from something to fear into something to embrace. It makes failure a tool for growth rather than a roadblock. Finally, get back in the game. Don't let failure paralyze you. Use it as fuel to keep going. The road to success isn't a straight line. It's full of bumps, twists, and turns. But each time you fail and get back up, you become stronger, more resilient, and better equipped for the next challenge. Failure isn't something to fear, it's something to use to your advantage. It's a part of the journey, and it's the thing that will ultimately lead you to the success you're striving for. Remember, you don't have to get it right every time. Just keep going. Keep learning, keep growing. And above all, keep believing in yourself. Because in the end, your failures don't define you. How you rise after those failures does. Chapter 13. Crafting your personal challenge plan. When you think about the future, what do you see? Do you envision the life you want to create? Or does the idea of it all feel overwhelming, like it's too far away to even begin? Let's face it, setting goals can feel intimidating, especially when they're big, bold, and life-changing. But here's the truth. The future doesn't just happen on its own. It's shaped by the choices you make today, and one of the most powerful tools you have to shape that future is by setting challenges for yourself, challenges that are meaningful, that push you to grow, and that move you toward the life you truly want. Now, you might be thinking, I've set goals before, and they didn't always work out. Or maybe you've found it difficult to even get started because the thought of reaching those big goals feels daunting. I get it. But the key to success isn't about setting a goal and hoping it magically happens. It's about creating a roadmap, about crafting a personal challenge plan that breaks those big dreams into manageable steps that you can take one day at a time. So, how do you craft this plan? How do you set yourself up for success, instead of setting yourself up for another cycle of disappointment? Let's start by talking about what a challenge plan really is. A challenge plan is simply a series of tasks and goals that are designed to push you outside of your comfort zone. It's about making yourself do things that are difficult, uncomfortable, or new in order to grow. It's about stretching your limits and setting a course for something bigger, something better. But let's be clear, this isn't about punishing yourself or pushing so hard that you burn out. It's about being strategic, about knowing what you want to achieve and mapping out the steps to get there in a sustainable way. Because here's the thing, big goals like weight loss, career changes, or personal development aren't achieved overnight. They're achieved by taking consistent action, one small step at a time. And that's where your challenge plan comes in. It breaks things down into manageable pieces so that the task ahead doesn't seem so overwhelming. When you start crafting your personal challenge plan, the first thing you need to do is get clear on what you want. It's easy to say, I want to be successful, or I want to get in shape, but what does that actually mean for you? What does success look like for you personally? What specific steps will you need to take to get there? The more clear you are on your destination, the easier it will be to plot your course. And if you're not sure, that's okay too. Take the time to think about it. Ask yourself what really matters to you, what you truly want out of life. Don't rush this step. Clarity is essential. Once you have that clarity, break it down. You've got the big vision, but now you need to get granular. What are the specific actions you need to take in order to make this vision a reality? Don't make the mistake of thinking it's enough to just set a vague goal and hope for the best. You need to identify concrete, measurable tasks that will move you forward. For example, if you're working toward a career change, maybe your first task is to update your resume. The next step could be to research companies you want to work for, then start networking, and then finally begin applying for jobs. It's about taking it step by step, making your goal more achievable by breaking it down into smaller, manageable pieces. But here's the catch, breaking things down is only half the battle. You've got to be realistic with yourself about how much you can actually handle. It's tempting to think that you can do it all at once, especially when you're feeling motivated. But if you pile too many tasks onto your plate, you're setting yourself up for overwhelm, and we all know what happens when we get overwhelmed. We freeze, we procrastinate, or we give up altogether. The trick is to focus on what you can do today and let tomorrow take care of itself. Each small task completed is a victory that brings you closer to your goal. As you work through your challenge plan, it's important to check in with yourself along the way. How are you feeling? Are you moving at the pace you've set for yourself? Are you maintaining a healthy balance between pushing yourself and giving yourself time to rest? It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, especially when you're working on something that's important to you. But remember that progress isn't always about speed. Sometimes it's about taking the time you need to do things right and to ensure that you're not burning yourself out in the process. Accountability is another critical piece of the puzzle. If you're going to follow through with your plan, it helps to have someone in your corner, someone who will encourage you when things get tough and remind you why you started when you feel like quitting. This doesn't have to be a mentor or a coach, though it certainly can be. It could simply be a friend, family member, or colleague who knows what you're working toward and is willing to check in with you from time to time to keep you on track. When we're held accountable, we're much more likely to stick to our plans and follow through with our goals. But what happens when you hit a bump in the road? What happens when things don't go according to plan? That's where the real growth happens. It's easy to feel defeated when you don't meet a deadline or when something doesn't go as expected, but the key is to not let that derail you. Mistakes and setbacks are part of the process, and they don't mean you're failing. In fact, they're often the moments where we learn the most. When you hit a setback, take a deep breath, assess what went wrong, and adjust your plan accordingly. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving forward. Another thing to keep in mind as you go through your challenge plan is that success isn't just about reaching the end goal. It's about the journey. It's about who you become in the process. When you challenge yourself, you're growing, learning, and evolving in ways you might not even realize. Every small step forward is a win. Every time you push through a difficult moment, you're building strength and resilience that will serve you for the rest of your life. You're also going to face fear along the way, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of not reaching the finish line. Fear is normal. It's a natural part of the process when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. But what matters is how you respond to that fear. Do you let it paralyze you, or do you acknowledge it, feel it, and then move through it anyway? When you move through fear instead of avoiding it, you break through the barriers that are holding you back from reaching your full potential. As you work through your challenge plan, keep your eye on the bigger picture. Stay focused on why you started, on the life you want to create, and on the person you're becoming in the process. It won't always be easy. There will be moments of frustration, moments where you question if it's all worth it. But remember, each challenge you face, each small victory you achieve, is bringing you one step closer to the life you've envisioned. So don't give up. Keep moving forward. Craft your plan. Break it down into manageable steps. And most importantly, trust yourself. You have everything you need to make it happen. Chapter 14. Time Management for Daring Goals. Time is one of the few things in life that we can never get back. Once a minute passes, it's gone, and there's no way to rewind and relive it. That's why how you spend your time is so important, because the way you manage it directly affects everything you're working toward. Whether you're building a new career, trying to get in shape, or striving for personal growth, your ability to manage time is one of the most powerful tools you have. The way you schedule your day can make all the difference in whether or not you reach your goals. But let's be real, time management isn't always easy. Life is full of distractions, and it can feel like there's always something demanding your attention. It's easy to feel like you're running out of time, that the days are flying by, and you're not making the progress you want to. We've all been there, feeling like we're constantly busy, but never actually getting anything done that really matters. So how do we break out of this cycle? How do we take control of our time and use it to achieve our biggest, most daring goals? The first step in managing your time effectively is realizing that you have more control over it than you think. So often, we act like time is something that happens to us, like it's a force outside of our control. But the truth is, we have the power to shape how we spend our time. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is by getting clear about where your time is currently going. Start by taking a close look at how you spend your days. For a week or so, track your time. Write down everything you do, how much time you spend on work, how much time you spend on social media, how much time you spend watching TV, sleeping, eating, and even just scrolling mindlessly through your phone. Be honest with yourself. It might be uncomfortable to realize how much time you waste, but this is the crucial first step. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Once you've tracked your time, take a step back and evaluate it. Are you spending time on activities that move you toward your goals? Or are you letting distractions eat up your day? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that every minute is accounted for, but if you really dig into how you spend your time, you'll likely find that there's plenty of room for improvement. Next, it's time to start thinking about how you want to spend your time moving forward. This is where the magic of time management happens. When you have a clear vision of your goals, whether it's getting in shape, building a business, or developing a new skill, you can start to structure your day around those things. But here's the catch: just saying you want something isn't enough. You have to be intentional about making the time for it. And that's where scheduling comes in. Scheduling is about more than just writing things down in your calendar. It's about prioritizing the things that matter most and making sure they have a dedicated space in your day. This is where most people slip up. They get so caught up in the day-to-day demands of life that they end up putting their most important tasks on the back burner. But the truth is, if you don't make time for your goals, no one else will. You have to take the responsibility of carving out that time, even when life gets busy. Start by identifying your most important tasks, the ones that will have the biggest impact on your progress. These are the things that will move you toward your goals, the things that require focused, intentional effort. Once you've identified those tasks, schedule them first, make them non-negotiable. If you're trying to get fit, block out time for exercise. If you're working on a new project, set aside time each day to focus solely on that. And here's the key: treat these scheduled times as if they're just as important as a meeting or an appointment. If you don't take them seriously, no one else will either. But scheduling isn't just about blocking out time for tasks, it's also about managing your energy. Think about when you feel the most focused and energized during the day. For some people, that's in the morning. For others, it's in the afternoon or evening. Pay attention to your energy levels and schedule your most demanding tasks during those peak times. If you try to tackle your hardest work when you're feeling exhausted, you're setting yourself up for frustration and disappointment. One thing that can really help with scheduling is using time blocking techniques. Time blocking is where you set aside specific blocks of time for different tasks throughout the day. For example, you might set aside 2 hours in the morning to work on your business, then an hour after lunch to exercise, and then another hour to read or learn something new. The beauty of time blocking is that it helps you stay focused because you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing and when. Another trick to managing your time effectively is to eliminate distractions. You know what I mean, those little things that pull you away from your work and derail your focus. Whether it's checking your phone every 5 minutes, getting sidetracked by social media, or simply overthinking things, distractions are time killers. The good news is, you can control them. Start by creating a focused work environment. Put your phone on silent or in another room. Turn off notifications on your computer. If you're working on something that requires deep focus, create a space where you won't be interrupted. And while we're on the topic of distractions, don't forget to give yourself permission to say no to things that don't serve your goals. It's easy to say yes to every invitation, every request, and every opportunity that comes your way, but that's a surefire way to spread yourself too thin. Learn to prioritize your time and protect your schedule. It's not selfish to focus on your own goals. It's necessary. There's also a huge benefit to setting clear boundaries. When you set boundaries around your time, you're telling yourself and others that your time matters. If you want to spend time with your family, go for a walk or work on a personal project, protect that time. If someone asks for your attention during that time, kindly but firmly let them know that you're unavailable. You'll be amazed at how much more focused and productive you become when you respect your own time. But it's not just about the tasks you schedule. Don't forget to make time for rest and recovery. When you're working hard toward your goals, it's easy to overlook the importance of taking breaks. But rest is crucial to maintaining your focus and productivity over the long haul. Make sure you're giving yourself time to recharge so that you can continue to give your best effort when it matters most. Another part of time management is learning to deal with the unexpected. Life happens, plans change, things come up, and obstacles get in the way. When this happens, don't panic. Instead, be flexible and adjust your schedule as needed. Remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. If something doesn't go according to plan, it's okay. Just reframe it, adjust, and keep moving forward. Finally, don't forget to celebrate the small wins along the way. Managing your time effectively is an ongoing process, and you won't always be perfect at it. But every time you take control of your schedule, every time you make progress toward your goals, you're moving in the right direction. Celebrate those wins. They're proof that you're making the most of your time, and they'll motivate you to keep going. Time is a gift, and how you spend it is your choice. By taking charge of your schedule, by prioritizing what matters most, and by protecting your time with intention, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Time management isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. So start today, take control of your time, and watch how it transforms the way you work, the way you live, and the way you reach your goals. Chapter 15. Exercise as a tool for mental toughness. When we talk about mental toughness, the first thing that usually comes to mind is the ability to push through discomfort. It's about dealing with challenges, pushing past the barriers that stand in our way, and staying strong in the face of adversity. But what often gets overlooked is the connection between mental toughness and physical exercise. You might be thinking, what does exercise have to do with mental toughness? A lot more than you might realize. You see, exercise isn't just about getting fit or building muscle. It's a powerful tool for developing mental resilience, and it can make a world of difference when it comes to tackling challenges, both big and small. The truth is, physical exercise is one of the best ways to strengthen your mind. And here's the kicker: the more you challenge yourself physically, the more mentally tough you become. It's like building muscle, but for your brain. Think about it for a moment. When you push yourself through a tough workout, whether it's lifting weights, running, or doing yoga, you're doing something difficult. Your body is telling you to stop, to take it easy, to avoid the discomfort. But you don't. You keep going. And each time you push through, you're building more than just physical strength. You're building mental strength too. You're teaching yourself that discomfort is not something to fear. You're showing yourself that you can handle it and even thrive in it. That's exactly what mental toughness is all about, learning how to handle discomfort and push through it. And when you're regularly challenging yourself in the gym or during a workout, you're rewiring your brain to handle stress and difficult situations in life. The more you put your body in challenging situations, the easier it becomes to face challenges in your daily life, whether they're related to work, relationships, or your personal growth journey. Now, you might be wondering how to get started if you're not already into exercise. The great news is that you don't have to start with intense workouts or long hours in the gym. The key is to find something that challenges you, something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Maybe that means going for a walk around the block, doing a set of push-ups, or taking a short run. It doesn't matter how hard it is, as long as you're challenging yourself. The beauty of exercise is that you can start at any level. If you've never worked out before, start with something small and work your way up. The goal isn't to be perfect right out of the gate. It's to challenge yourself in a way that gets you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Over time, you'll start to see progress, not just in your physical strength, but also in your mental resilience. One of the most powerful things about exercise is that it teaches you to stay present in the moment. When you're running, lifting, or doing any type of physical activity, you can't think about anything else. You have to be fully focused on what your body is doing, on your breathing, and on pushing yourself to the next level. This focus, this present moment awareness, is exactly what helps build mental toughness. It trains your mind to stay calm and focused, even when things get tough. And it's not just about pushing through in the moment. Exercise also helps you build mental toughness by teaching you how to set and achieve goals. When you start a new workout routine, it's not going to be easy at first. You might not be able to do everything you want to do, and that's okay. The key is to set small, achievable goals and gradually increase the difficulty over time. Each time you hit a new milestone, whether it's lifting a heavier weight or running a little longer, you're building confidence in your ability to push through barriers. You're teaching yourself that you're capable of more than you thought, and that lesson carries over into every other area of your life. But building mental toughness through exercise doesn't always have to be about intense workouts. It's also about consistency. The act of showing up, even on the days when you don't feel like it, is a major part of developing resilience. Some days you might not want to work out. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're busy, or maybe you're just not feeling it. But the real test is whether or not you're willing to show up anyway. When you make the choice to exercise, even when it's hard, you're reinforcing your ability to push through discomfort. You're proving to yourself that you can keep going, even when your mind is telling you to stop. There's also a huge benefit to mixing up your routine. Variety in your exercise can help keep things fresh and exciting, and it can also challenge your body and mind in different ways. If you're used to running, try incorporating strength training. If you're a fan of yoga, mix in some cardio. The more diverse your routine, the more you'll have to adapt, which helps to further develop your mental toughness. Another powerful aspect of exercise is the way it helps you cope with stress. We all deal with stress on a daily basis, whether it's from work, relationships, or personal challenges. But exercise is a great stress reliever. It helps release endorphins, which are natural mood boosters, and it gives you a healthy outlet to release tension and frustration. When you exercise regularly, you're teaching your body to handle stress in a more productive way. Instead of turning to unhealthy habits like eating junk food, drinking, or isolating yourself, you learn to use physical activity as a way to cope with stress. And let's not forget about the role of exercise in improving your overall mental health. When you exercise, you're not just strengthening your body, you're also improving your brain's health. Regular exercise has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress. It helps improve sleep quality, boosts self-esteem, and gives you a sense of accomplishment. All of these things contribute to mental toughness. When your mind is in a positive place, you're better equipped to face challenges head-on. Now, if you're still skeptical about the link between exercise and mental toughness, let me share a little story. I remember a time when I was facing a particularly tough period in my life. Everything seemed to be going wrong. Work was stressful, my personal life was rocky, and I just felt overwhelmed. But during that time, I made a commitment to myself to stay consistent with my exercise routine. Even when I didn't feel like it, even when everything else seemed to be falling apart, I kept showing up for myself. And you know what? It wasn't just the physical changes I noticed. It was the mental strength I built through that consistency. Every workout was a reminder that I was in control. Every time I pushed through discomfort, I grew stronger. I learned that even when life feels out of control, I can still control my actions, and that made all the difference. If you want to build mental toughness, If you want to develop resilience that will carry you through life's challenges, don't underestimate the power of exercise. Whether it's a short walk, a run, or a strength training session, make it part of your routine. Show up for yourself, even when it's hard. Push through the discomfort and watch how it transforms not just your body, but your mind as well. Exercise isn't just about getting in shape, it's about shaping your mind to handle anything life throws at you. Chapter 16: Cultivating a Supportive Environment. When it comes to achieving your goals and making lasting changes in your life, one of the most important things you can do is surround yourself with the right environment. It's easy to think that success comes solely from individual effort, and while that's a part of it, the people and spaces around you play a huge role in determining how far you can go. The truth is, your environment can either propel you forward or hold you back. It's a powerful influence, and if you're serious about reaching your potential, you have to be intentional about creating a space that nurtures your growth. Let's start with the physical environment around you, the place where you spend most of your time. Whether that's at home, in the office, or somewhere else, your physical surroundings can have a major impact on your productivity, mindset, and overall well-being. Think about the times when you've been in a cluttered or disorganized space. It's not just that it looks chaotic, it actually makes you feel chaotic. It's hard to focus when there's too much going on around you. Your mind can get distracted by the mess, which takes away from your ability to think clearly and get things done. On the flip side, when your environment is clean, organized, and purposeful, it's easier to focus. It sends a signal to your brain that it's time to get to work, and that makes it much easier to get into a productive flow. Whether it's setting up a clean desk, organizing your work area, or creating a dedicated space for reading or creative thinking, these little changes can help you feel more grounded and prepared to take on tasks. A clear space often leads to a clear mind, but it's not just about the physical environment, it's also about the people you surround yourself with. Have you ever noticed how the people around you can affect your mood and energy? When you're around positive, supportive people, you feel motivated and inspired to take action. But when you're surrounded by negativity, doubt, or criticism, it can drain your energy and make you second-guess yourself. This is especially true when you're working on challenging goals. If you're trying to grow, change, or pursue something big, you need a support system that encourages you to keep going even when things get tough. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people who lift you up. These are the individuals who believe in your potential, who challenge you to be better, and who hold you accountable when you start to slack off. Whether they're friends, family, mentors, or colleagues, having the right people around you can make all the difference. They act as a source of encouragement and motivation when your own confidence might falter. They remind you of your worth and help you stay focused on your goals. Now, I know it's not always easy to find the right people. Sometimes the people closest to us might not fully understand our ambitions, or might even unintentionally hold us back with their negativity. And that's okay. It's important to recognize that not everyone in your life will be on the same page as you when it comes to your dreams and goals. But that doesn't mean you have to distance yourself from them entirely. It just means that when it comes to the big things, you might need to seek out other sources of support. One of the best ways to cultivate a supportive environment is to find like-minded individuals who are also committed to growth and success. Look for groups, communities, or even online forums where people share similar goals and challenges. When you surround yourself with others who are also striving to improve, it's easier to stay motivated and stay on track. You don't have to do it alone, and in fact, it's often more powerful when you don't. There's something special about having people around you who are on a similar journey. They understand the struggles, the setbacks, and the victories. They get it, And when you're going through a tough time, they're there to offer advice, encouragement, and sometimes just a listening ear. And the best part is, when you succeed, they're there to celebrate with you. They become your cheerleaders, and that sense of camaraderie can be incredibly powerful. It's a reminder that you're not alone, and that you have a team behind you. But there's more to creating a supportive environment than just the people in your life. The digital space around you also plays a huge role in your ability to focus and stay motivated. If you spend a lot of time online, you know how easy it is to get distracted by social media, the news, or endless scrolling. The constant barrage of information can overwhelm you and pull your attention away from what really matters. That's why it's so important to be mindful of your digital environment. Take a step back and ask yourself, what do you spend your time consuming online? Are the people you follow on social media lifting you up, or are they dragging you down? Are the websites you visit aligned with your goals, or do they waste your time and energy? Consider curating your digital environment just as carefully as you curate your physical space. Follow accounts, pages, and websites that inspire you and support your growth. Unfollow or mute those that bring negativity or distractions into your life. You can also use digital tools to your advantage. There are apps that help you stay focused, track your progress, and hold yourself accountable. Whether it's a task manager, a habit tracker, or a productivity tool, these resources can help you stay on track and avoid distractions. You can even set boundaries for yourself, like limiting social media use during work hours or turning off notifications when you need to concentrate. Creating a positive digital environment is just as important as creating a positive physical one, and it can significantly impact your ability to stay focused and productive. But let's not forget about your internal environment, the mindset you carry with you every day. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions all shape your reality and influence how you approach the world. If you have a negative, self-limiting mindset, that will show up in everything you do. On the other hand, if you cultivate a positive, growth-oriented mindset, you'll start to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You'll become more resilient in the face of challenges, and you'll be more likely to take action when things get tough. One of the most powerful ways to shift your internal environment is through daily practice. It's not enough to just hope that your mindset will change on its own. You have to be intentional about it. This can include practicing gratitude, affirming your strengths, and focusing on positive self-talk. It can also mean challenging negative thoughts and replacing them with empowering ones. The more you work on your internal environment, the more it will align with your external environment. As you shift your mindset, you'll find that the people and situations around you also begin to reflect that change. Creating a supportive environment is a lifelong process. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something you can force. But when you make the effort to surround yourself with positivity, whether that's through the physical space around you, the people in your life, or the mindset you carry, you'll start to see real changes. You'll feel more motivated, more focused, and more equipped to tackle the challenges that come your way. And as you continue to nurture this environment, you'll find that success becomes not just possible but inevitable. Chapter 17. Celebrating small wins along the journey. When you're on the journey of pursuing your goals and working hard to improve yourself, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind. We all know that feeling when you're focused, pushing through the tough stuff, and keeping your eyes on the big prize. But what happens when you finally achieve something, or when you make progress? Do you take a moment to really celebrate it, or do you just move on to the next task, thinking about what's still left to do? If you're like most people, you probably don't celebrate nearly enough. Celebrating small wins is something we often overlook, especially in a world that encourages hustle and constant productivity. We get so focused on the end goal, the big accomplishment, that we forget to stop and acknowledge the progress we've made along the way. But here's the truth: those small wins, those moments of progress, are just as important as the big achievements. In fact, they might even be more important. Celebrating them helps you stay motivated, boosts your confidence, and reinforces the behaviors that will ultimately lead to long-term success. It's easy to think that a win has to be huge, something monumental to be worth celebrating, but that's simply not true. Every step you take toward your goal, no matter how small it seems, is a victory. It might be completing a difficult task you've been putting off for days, or sticking to a new habit for a week straight. Maybe you've made progress on a long-term project, or you've finally faced a fear that's been holding you back. These are all wins worth celebrating. The key is to recognize them and give yourself credit for the effort you've put in. One of the biggest reasons people don't celebrate small wins is that they're waiting for the big moment. They're waiting for the day when they can say, "I did it," and everything will magically fall into place. But here's the thing: that big moment doesn't come if you don't first acknowledge the little victories along the way. If you're always chasing that next big achievement without stopping to appreciate the progress you've made, you're not giving yourself the recognition you deserve. Over time, this can lead to burnout, frustration, and a feeling of never quite being satisfied with where you are. Taking time to celebrate doesn't mean throwing a huge party or making a big deal out of every little thing. It can be as simple as acknowledging the effort you've put in, giving yourself a mental high five, or taking a moment to reflect on what you've accomplished. It can be a quiet celebration, just you and your thoughts, or it can be shared with a friend or family member who's been there to support you. Whatever it looks like, the important thing is that you're giving yourself permission to feel good about the progress you've made. Celebrating small wins also plays a big role in building momentum. When you take time to acknowledge your accomplishments, it creates a positive feedback loop. You start to feel more motivated to keep going, and the act of celebrating reinforces the idea that your hard work is paying off. It's like a little boost of energy that keeps you going, even when the road ahead seems long. When you recognize the progress you've made, it encourages you to keep pushing forward toward your next milestone. Another reason why celebrating small wins is so important is because it helps you stay connected to your why. It's easy to lose sight of your purpose when you're caught up in the daily grind of work and tasks. But when you celebrate, you remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. You reconnect with your goals and the bigger picture. Celebrating those small moments of success brings you back to the present and helps you stay focused on the bigger journey ahead. The key here is to make celebration a regular part of your routine. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be time-consuming. The more you practice celebrating your progress, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll start to develop a mindset that sees every step forward as an opportunity to celebrate, no matter how small. You'll begin to enjoy the process of growth, rather than just focusing on the end result. And as you celebrate more, you'll feel a greater sense of accomplishment and fulfillment, which will drive you to keep going. Now, I know that celebrating small wins can feel a little uncomfortable at first. We've all been taught to stay humble, to keep our heads down, and to focus on the next task. But here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with taking a moment to acknowledge your hard work and give yourself credit. In fact, it's essential. You deserve to recognize the effort you've put in, and you deserve to feel good about it. If you don't celebrate your progress, no one else will do it for you. It's up to you to take ownership of your achievements and honor the work you've done. It's also important to understand that celebration doesn't mean perfection. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect to celebrate. In fact, if you wait for perfection, you'll never celebrate anything. Progress is the key, not perfection. When you celebrate the small wins, you're acknowledging the journey you're on, not just the end result. And that's what matters most. It's the effort, the learning, and the growth that make the process worthwhile, not the final destination. Think about it. When you celebrate small wins, you create a positive association with hard work. You begin to look forward to the process rather than dreading the effort. You start to see challenges as opportunities for growth, and you become more resilient in the face of setbacks. The more you celebrate, the more you reinforce the idea that hard work leads to progress, and that progress is worth celebrating. It's also important to remember that celebration isn't just for the big wins. Every small step counts. Maybe you've been working on building a new habit, and you've stuck with it for a few days longer than usual. That's worth celebrating. Maybe you've faced a fear or pushed through a difficult task. That's progress. Maybe you've learned something new or overcome an obstacle that's been standing in your way. That's growth. Every bit of progress is worth celebrating. And when you make a habit of celebrating, you'll see just how much you've accomplished over time. In the end, celebrating small wins is about more than just feeling good in the moment. It's about reinforcing the habits, behaviors, and mindset that will ultimately lead to long-term success. It's about recognizing that the journey is just as important as the destination. And it's about giving yourself the recognition and encouragement you deserve. So take the time to celebrate your wins, big and small. Give yourself credit for the progress you've made and use it as fuel to keep going. Because the more you celebrate, the more you'll realize that every step forward is a victory worth acknowledging. Chapter 18. Adopting a long-term vision. When you're working towards something big, something meaningful, it's easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day tasks and obstacles. You get so focused on what needs to happen right now, the small steps that seem endless, that you can lose sight of the bigger picture. I get it. We've all been there. The struggle feels real. But here's the thing. Having a long-term vision is what will get you through all of that. A long-term vision helps you zoom out and see the entire landscape, not just the piece of the puzzle you're working on in the moment. I want you to think for a second about why you started on this journey in the first place. What was it that sparked that fire in you? Maybe it was the desire for a better life, a sense of accomplishment, or the ability to help others. Whatever it is, that's your big vision, the reason you're doing all of this hard work. And when you can connect with that vision, when you have a clear, compelling idea of what you're working toward, it's like having a map that guides you through the rough terrain. So often we focus on the immediate, the short-term results we want to see, because it's easier. It's easier to measure how much progress we've made today or this week. But real, lasting change and success don't happen overnight. The road to getting where you want to be takes time. And it's easy to get discouraged when we don't see things happening right away. That's where your long-term vision comes in. It helps you keep going when the immediate results don't match up with your expectations. The challenge is that this kind of long-term thinking doesn't always come naturally. We're conditioned to think in short bursts, to want instant gratification. It's in our nature. But if you can train yourself to see beyond today, beyond this week or this month, you're giving yourself the advantage. You're setting yourself up for success. It's about shifting your mindset from the immediate to the future. What does that look like in practice? It means not getting discouraged when the results aren't instant. It means staying committed to the work even when it feels like nothing is happening. And it means looking at each challenge as just one step in the long road to your bigger goal. Because here's the truth, every single step, no matter how small, is still progress. A long-term vision is more than just a goal. It's a way of thinking. It's about understanding that the hard work you're doing today is building towards something much bigger. And when you have that perspective, it changes how you view your daily tasks. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the small things, you start to see them as part of the bigger journey. The long-term vision gives you perspective, and that perspective is what helps you push through when things get tough. When you can keep that long-term vision in mind, even the smallest actions take on more meaning. Maybe you're putting in hours of work, grinding away at something that feels tedious, and it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere. But if you can remind yourself that every single thing you're doing is a building block for your future, you'll find the strength to keep going. And when you finally do look up and realize how far you've come, you'll understand just how powerful that long-term vision really is. Having a long-term vision also helps you navigate those inevitable setbacks. Life doesn't always go according to plan, right? Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes we get knocked off course. But when you have a clear vision, you know that these setbacks are temporary. They're just small obstacles that can't derail your entire journey. You know where you're headed, and no matter what happens, you'll keep moving toward that vision. It's like you've already decided that no matter how tough it gets, you're in it for the long haul. But you've got to be intentional about keeping that vision alive in your mind. It's easy to lose sight of it, especially when things get hard or when it feels like you're not making progress. So how do you keep that long-term vision at the forefront of your mind? One way is by constantly reminding yourself of your why. Why did you start this in the first place? What's driving you? Why is it worth it to push through the tough moments? Another way is by breaking your long-term vision into smaller, more manageable pieces. Yes, it's important to have that big goal in mind, but it can sometimes feel overwhelming. Breaking it down into smaller steps helps you stay focused and feel a sense of achievement along the way. Each small step is a reminder that you're still moving in the right direction, that you're still working toward that bigger picture. And as you hit these smaller milestones, you get the added bonus of feeling like you're accomplishing something, even while working towards something much larger. But here's the catch. Those small steps need to align with your big vision. It's easy to get sidetracked by distractions, to start chasing shiny objects that seem appealing in the short term. But when you know where you're going, it becomes easier to say no to the things that won't get you there. It's about having the clarity to choose what truly matters and saying no to everything else. When you keep your long-term vision in focus, it helps you make better decisions and prioritize your time and energy in the right ways. Now, let's talk about how a long-term vision can help you with your mindset. When you're working towards something big, it's natural to encounter moments of doubt or frustration. You might ask yourself, am I really making a difference? Is this worth it? That's where your long-term vision comes in again. When you can see the bigger picture and understand how your current efforts are contributing to something meaningful, it shifts your thinking. Those doubts start to fade because you're no longer looking at today in isolation. You're looking at today as part of the bigger picture. And that shift in mindset makes all the difference. One of the most powerful things about having a long-term vision is that it helps you become more resilient. When you know that your hard work is contributing to something bigger than yourself, you can handle the setbacks more effectively. Instead of feeling defeated, you feel motivated to keep going. You understand that every failure, every obstacle is just a lesson on your way to success. It's all part of the process, and that long-term vision is what helps you push through. The beauty of a long-term vision is that it keeps you moving forward. It helps you see the bigger picture, even when things get difficult, and it keeps you motivated to do the work when the results aren't immediate. The more you can stay connected to that vision, the more you'll realize how powerful it is in shaping your mindset and your actions. So, what's your long-term vision? What are you working toward, and why does it matter to you? Take a moment to really think about it. Picture where you want to be in the future and what that success will feel like. And now, remember that every small step you take today is part of that bigger journey. Keep that vision in mind and let it guide you through the tough times, because when you've got a long-term vision, the road ahead may be long, but it's always worth it. Keep your eyes on the prize and trust that all your hard work is leading you to something truly amazing. Chapter 19. The role of creativity in hard tasks. There's something magical about the way creativity intersects with hard work. You might not always think of creativity as something tied to challenging tasks, but it is. When you're facing a tough challenge, creativity can be your secret weapon. It's the tool that helps you find new solutions when the old ones don't work. It's what helps you look at a problem from a different angle, to find a new approach that no one else has thought of before. Creativity isn't just about making art, it's about thinking outside the box, pushing boundaries and being resourceful when things get tough. Think about it. How many times have you been stuck in a problem, spinning your wheels, trying to find a way forward, and then out of nowhere, an idea hits you? That's creativity in action. It's not always planned or expected. In fact, some of the most creative breakthroughs happen when we're not trying to force them. Creativity comes in those quiet moments, when your mind is free to wander, or when you've reached a point of frustration and are forced to think differently. It's often in the struggle that we find our most innovative solutions. But here's the thing, creativity isn't just about waiting for that eureka moment. It's also about actively cultivating it. When you're working on something difficult, whether it's a project, a goal, or a personal challenge, creativity can be the difference between hitting a dead end and finding a path forward. But if you want to use creativity to help you push through hard tasks, you have to develop it like any other skill. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to think differently. So, how do you tap into that creative part of your brain when you're facing a tough task? First, it's important to let go of the need to have everything figured out right away. One of the biggest barriers to creativity is the pressure to get it right the first time. If you're trying to force yourself to come up with the perfect solution, it's going to stifle your creative flow. Creativity thrives when you give yourself the space to experiment, make mistakes, and explore different possibilities. One of the best ways to kickstart creativity is by changing your environment. Sometimes, just shifting your surroundings can open up new ideas. Maybe it's working in a different room, taking a walk outside, or even rearranging your workspace. A change of scenery can help break up the monotony and get your brain thinking in new ways. Even if you're just doing something as simple as stepping away from your desk for a few minutes, it can give you the mental reset you need to come back with fresh ideas. Another way to boost creativity when facing hard tasks is to embrace constraints. It may sound counterintuitive, but setting limits can actually spark creativity. When you give yourself too much freedom, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the endless possibilities. But when you set boundaries, you force your brain to think more creatively within those limits. Whether it's a time constraint, a budget, or a specific goal, these constraints challenge you to think outside the box and come up with creative solutions. They make you work with what you have and figure out the most efficient way to achieve your goal. It's also helpful to approach problems with a mindset of curiosity. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, try to see them as puzzles to solve. Ask yourself questions like, what's the best way to approach this? Or how can I look at this problem differently? Curiosity opens the door to creativity because it shifts your focus from frustration to exploration. When you're genuinely curious about how to solve a problem, you're more likely to come up with creative, innovative ideas that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. If you're feeling stuck, Try brainstorming without judgment. One of the most powerful ways to unlock creativity is to let your ideas flow without criticizing them. Often we stop ourselves from being creative because we're afraid of coming up with something stupid or imperfect. But creativity thrives when you let go of that fear. Even the wildest ideas can lead to breakthroughs. So allow yourself to come up with a list of ideas, no matter how far-fetched they might seem. You can always refine them later. The goal is to give your brain the freedom to think in new ways, even if it's a little messy at first. Another way creativity can help you tackle hard tasks is by encouraging you to look for patterns and connections. When you're working on something difficult, it's easy to get stuck in a linear way of thinking. But creativity is all about making connections between things that might seem unrelated. Take a step back and try to see the bigger picture. Maybe the solution to your problem lies in an idea you saw earlier or something you heard in a conversation. Often creativity is about recognizing patterns that others might miss and seeing how they fit together. Let's also talk about failure. When you're working on something challenging, failure is inevitable. But failure isn't something to fear, it's actually an important part of the creative process. Some of the best ideas come from trial and error, from figuring out what doesn't work and learning from those experiences. Failure gives you feedback, and with creativity that feedback is essential. Every time you fail, you're one step closer to finding the right solution. So instead of being discouraged by setbacks, use them as opportunities to rethink your approach. Get curious about why things didn't work and how you can pivot in a new direction. Creativity flourishes when you embrace failure as part of the journey. In many ways, creativity and perseverance go hand in hand. When you're tackling hard tasks, creativity helps you stay persistent by showing you new ways to approach problems. It keeps things interesting and keeps you engaged in the process. And the more you engage with creativity, the more it becomes a habit. Over time, you'll find that you approach challenges with a mindset of possibility, always looking for new and innovative ways to move forward. But even when you feel like you've exhausted all of your creative ideas, don't give up. Creativity isn't something that happens all at once. It's a process, and it's one that takes time. Keep pushing yourself to think differently, to experiment with new ideas, and to keep going even when things seem difficult. Eventually, the solutions you're looking for will emerge, often when you least expect it. At the end of the day, creativity is a tool that can make hard tasks feel more manageable. It's what helps you navigate obstacles and find solutions that others might overlook. So the next time you're facing a challenge, remember that creativity is your ally. Embrace it, cultivate it, use it to keep pushing forward. Because when you combine hard work with creativity, there's nothing you can't overcome. Chapter 20. Making hard work a habit for life. Making hard work a habit is one of the most important steps you can take in your personal growth journey. The truth is, doing difficult things doesn't always come naturally. In fact, it's often the hardest part of the process. But the good news is that making hard work a part of your routine doesn't have to be as intimidating as it sounds. It all starts with understanding that hard work isn't just something you have to force yourself to do when things get tough. It can become a natural part of your everyday life, just like brushing your teeth or getting dressed. The key is consistency, discipline, and the willingness to keep going, even when the results aren't immediately visible. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that they have to be perfect every time they try to push themselves. They think if they don't do things perfectly, then they've failed. But that's not the case at all. The truth is, it's the effort that matters most. The little steps you take each day, no matter how small, are what compound over time and lead to real growth. The magic happens when you commit to doing something hard, day in and day out. It's the consistency, the discipline, the small wins that build up over time that lead you toward your larger goals. At first it might feel like you're not making any progress, but that's part of the process. You might be tempted to give up when the results aren't showing up as quickly as you hoped. And that's okay. It's normal. But remember that success isn't built overnight. It's about showing up every single day, even when things are tough. It's about getting up when you fail and trying again. It's about pushing yourself even when you feel like you can't go any further. Hard work doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment, but that's where the real transformation happens. One of the best ways to make hard work a habit is to break it down into manageable chunks. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you look at the big picture. You might have huge goals and feel like they're impossible to reach. But if you focus on the small steps, on doing just one thing at a time, it becomes much more manageable. This is why setting small, achievable goals is so important. You don't need to tackle everything all at once. Instead, focus on doing what you can today. And once you accomplish that, move on to the next thing. Little by little, you'll start to build momentum, and you'll realize that what once seemed impossible is now within reach. Making hard work a habit also requires setting a routine that supports it. Our brains are wired to seek comfort, so when you leave things up to chance, it's easy to fall back into old patterns of procrastination or avoidance. But if you make hard work part of your daily routine, you're less likely to make excuses. Routine creates structure and consistency, which helps keep you on track when motivation starts to waver. Whether it's setting aside time in the morning to focus on your goals or scheduling regular check-ins with yourself to see where you're at, routine helps create an environment where hard work becomes part of your everyday life. Another crucial aspect of making hard work a habit is understanding that it's okay to rest. People often think that hard work means pushing yourself to the limit every single day. But that's not sustainable, and it's not necessary. Rest and recovery are just as important as the work itself. In fact, giving yourself time to recharge can make you more productive in the long run. It's about finding a balance between pushing yourself and knowing when to step back and allow yourself to rest. When you're well rested, you're more energized, more focused, and more capable of doing the hard work that lies ahead. As you start to make hard work a habit, don't forget to celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Acknowledge the effort you're putting in, even if the results aren't immediate. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see the fruits of your labor right away, but celebrating small victories helps reinforce the positive behavior and keeps you motivated. Take a moment to appreciate what you've accomplished, and then use that as fuel to keep moving forward. The more you acknowledge your efforts, the more you'll want to keep putting in the hard work. It's also essential to surround yourself with a support system that encourages you to keep going. Hard work can sometimes feel isolating, but when you have people around you who are cheering you on, it makes all the difference. Whether it's a friend, family member, mentor, or even an online community, having people who believe in you can help you stay motivated when things get tough. These people can also offer perspective, provide feedback, and hold you accountable when you start to slack off. The right support system can give you the strength and encouragement you need to push through the hardest challenges. At the heart of making hard work a habit is the understanding that it's a lifelong journey. There's no finish line where you can say, "I've made it, I've worked hard enough." The truth is, growth is continuous. You'll always face new challenges, new goals, and new obstacles. But by making hard work a habit, you build the mental muscle to tackle whatever comes your way. You train your mind to embrace discomfort and push through it, knowing that the effort you put in today will pay off in the future. Over time, what once seemed like a struggle becomes second nature. Hard work doesn't feel as draining or overwhelming because you've conditioned yourself to handle it. You've developed a mindset that sees challenges as opportunities rather than threats. You've cultivated a resilience that allows you to keep going even when things get tough. And most importantly, you've built a habit that supports your long-term success. So as you move forward on your journey, remember that hard work is not something to fear. It's not something that should be avoided or procrastinated on. It's something that with time and practice becomes a part of who you are. It becomes the foundation of everything you do. And when you make hard work a habit, you'll find that there's nothing you can't accomplish. It's not about working harder than anyone else. It's about working consistently, staying disciplined, and being willing to do the hard things when others shy away. Because that's where success lies, right in the middle of the work, the effort, and the persistence.